In this video, we will explore how to write the equation of an ellipse, either given the equation in a different form or given different information about the ellipse. So in this one, first we're going to start with this equation, which is not in the form that we want it. So we need to obviously complete the square because we want it to be in the same form that we've been dealing with. So the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to rearrange my terms so that I have the x values together and then the y values together. So plus 5y squared minus 30y. I'm going to move this 9 to the other side to equal -9. So first step, of course, is to just get the constant out of the way. Next step is to, if there is a value that I can take out of both of these, so really I want it to be 1x squared. So I'm going to say 9 and then x squared plus 2x, and I'm going to leave a plus blank. And then I'm going to take a 5 out of both of these terms, and then y squared minus 6y, so notice I've divided it by the 5, plus blank equals -9. And then on this side, I'm going to put the 2 blanks, but remember this is 9 times the blank, so plus 9 blank, and then plus 5 blank. So that's just so I don't forget later that this is actually a 9 here. So now I'm saying whatever this value is, so in this case it's 2, I'm going to divide it by 2 to get 1, and then I'm going to square it. And 1 squared is 1. That's the value that goes there and here. So 9 times 1, of course, that's going to end up being 9. Here I have -6. -6 over 2 is -3. -3 squared is 9. So 9 is going to go here, but it's actually a 45 that I've added. So what's happened now is this is 9 and then x plus 1 quantity squared, and this is 5 and then y minus 3 quantity squared equals -9, this is 9, this is 45. So -9 plus 9 is 0 plus 45. Now we know, based on what we did before, that this value was always a 1. So in order for me to turn it in the correct form, all of these will be divided by 45. So reducing 9 and 45, I get 1 and 5. Reducing 5 and 45, I get 1 and 9. And reducing 45 and 45, I get 1. So my equation of the ellipse in standard form is x plus 1 quantity squared over 5 plus y minus 3 quantity squared over 9 equals 1. That is my new standard form equation. So I have to complete the square, and then I have to divide by whatever the constant is. In this question, we are given different information. So we are given the center of 1, 3. Might be helpful to visualize this. So at 1, 3. We're also given a focus at -2, 3. And we're given a vertex at 5, 3. So I know that if this is the center and this is a vertex, that the distance between those two is my a value. So my a value must be 4. Again, I could also find that algebraically by taking the 5 minus the 1 and seeing that the difference is 4. So I know that that must be my a value. My c value is the distance between the center and the focus. So this is my c. Again, I can just subtract to find that. So the difference between 1 and -2 is 3 units. So we're going to use the fact that a is 4 and c is 3 to write my equation in standard form. Again, I know that because the vertex is here, that this is going to be a horizontally stretched ellipse, which means the larger a value will go underneath the x. So I've got the x minus 1, so x minus h quantity squared, plus y minus k quantity squared. And now I just need to find what values are going to go underneath each of those fractions. So I know that a is 4, so a squared is 16, that must go here. In order to find the value that goes here, which of course is b squared, I need to look at the a and the c value. So I'm using c squared equals a squared minus b squared, just as before. C squared would be 3 squared, which is 9. A squared was 4 squared, which is 16. Which means if I subtract 16 from each side, I get negative 7 equals negative b squared. So 7 equals b squared. And that value goes here. So that is the equation of this ellipse. You don't have to graph it to do it, but sometimes it's easier to figure out if you're stretching this way or this way. Here's another one for us to try. So we have the equation of an ellipse in standard form. Again, they've given me the center, so I'm going to go ahead and use that. X minus 5 quantity squared, y minus 1 quantity squared. And let's go ahead and look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. The vertex is at 5, 9. Way up here, which means the distance between these two is 8, and of course that's going to be my a value. So the vertex is at 5, 9. The minor axis length is 2, so that means this distance is 2, which means that's the b value. Oh, just kidding. The minor axis length is 2, which means it's 1 in each direction. So remember, the length of the minor axis is 2b, the length of the major axis is 2a. So b must be 1 and a must be 8, which means 8 squared is 64, and that's going to go underneath the y value, again because the vertex was vertical rather than horizontal. And since b is 1, b squared is also 1, and that would go underneath the x-axis. Here's one for you to try on your own, so press pause, write this ellipse equation in standard form, and then press play to check your work. Again, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to collect my x values together. I'm going to collect my y values together. I'm going to move that 40 to the opposite side. Then I'm going to take out a GCF, so I'm saying 2 and then x squared minus 6x plus blank, plus 11 times the quantity of y squared plus 4y plus blank equals negative 40, plus 2 times blank plus 11 times blank. Now we need to find the blanks. So to find the blanks, I take the b value in half and square it. So my first blank is 9 and 9. My second one is 4 divided by 2 and squared, which is 2 squared, which is 4. So 4 and 4. Remember, when I write this as a perfect square, I'm using the minus 3, so x minus 3 quantity squared. In here I have a plus 2, so y plus 2 quantity squared. This is 18. This is 44. So if I add all of those together, I get 22. In order for me to have this in the correct form, this value needs to be 1. So now everything gets divided by 22. So this gives me x minus 3 quantity squared. Reducing this gives me 1 and 11, 1 and 2, and just 1. So this is over 11 plus y plus 2 quantity squared over 2 equals 1.